God, it's Friday. Welcome to the final one for the week. This is Business Morning. This is where you get 55 minutes of current and relevant business conversations that I know we need for your daily decision making. You're welcome. I'm Ini John Mekwa. And we start off as usual with the oil prices. I'll head right here so you can see the numbers right there. Because oil prices recovered today, regaining grounds after tumbling more than $2 a barrel in the previous session as concerns of a wider Middle East conflict eased, while the United States, which is the world's biggest oil consumer, showed signs of weakening demand. Brent crude futures climbed 45 cents, that's about 0.5%, to $88.38 a barrel, while U.S. West Texas Intermediate crude was at $83.63 a barrel, and that's up 42 cents, 0.5%. Both contracts are on track to post their first weekly drop in 3 weeks as the geopolitical premium builds on fears that Israel-Gaza conflict would involve more countries in the Middle East and disrupt oil supply has eased. Israeli forces carried out their biggest Gaza ground attack in their 20-day-old war with Hamas overnight, angering the Arab world. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said that Israeli troops were still preparing for a full ground invasion, while the United States and other countries urge Israel to delay, fearing it could ignite hostilities on other Middle East fronts. Goldman Sachs analysts have kept their first quarter 2024 Brent crude price forecast at $95 a barrel, but added that lower Iranian export could cause baseline prices to rise by 5%. Global grains now. Chicago wheat features turned higher, recovering from an earlier 2-week low as reports that Ukraine has halted traffic in a Black Sea shipping channel put attention back on war risks to export supply. Reaction was tempered, however, by initial indications that the corridor closure was temporary and a backdrop of large global supplies and improving crop weather. Corn also steady to move away from a 3-week low struck in the previous session, while soybeans edged up following Wednesday's near 2-week low with support from rising vegetable oil prices. The most active wheat contract on the Chicago Board of Trade as the CBOT was up 0.9% to $7 for 3.5 quarter of a bushel, having earlier dropped to its lowest since October the 12th at $5.63 for a quarter of a bushel. Most active CBOT wheat futures, that's the WVI, ended 11 cents higher at $5.79 for half a bushel, after earlier falling to its lowest price since October the 12th at $5.63 for a quarter of a bushel. Technical buying helped boost prices, and traders say that soybean futures weakened. Corn futures were nearly flat as traders monitored forecasts for beneficial rain in Brazil and Argentina. After drought slowed plantings there, Kyiv suspended the use of its new Black Sea grain corridor launched in August after Russia cut a deal allowing wartime seaborne exports from Ukraine due to a threat from Russian warplanes. The Kyiv-based Bava Invest consultancy also shared more information around this corridor. Well, talking about grains and commodities now, we come to Nigeria, where the National Cashew Association of Nigeria is worried about premature harvest of the crop and direct purchase of the same by foreigners at the farm gate. The association dissected issues that border on their value chain and production at a one-day stakeholders consultative meeting in Lagos. The national president of the association, Dr. Ojo Ajanaku, acknowledged the outstanding position of cashews as one of the national strategic export products in the country, saying adequate measures are being put in place to ensure quality control at the farm gate. He stressed the need for synergy along the cashew value chain in order to ensure increased production of the crop in Nigeria.
We are looking at the production is one of our major production because we have not been able to work on the production through the federal government angle to see that what the new inputs for the sector are reorganized. What we currently have as sector, we believe that there's a need for research to give us a new kind of variety that will produce more than what we are currently earning. In 1 hectare of land today in Nigeria, we're talking about 300 to 400 kg, while our counterparts in other countries are already harvesting over a ton in 1 hectare of land. So we think that there is need for research in the sector. By this development, we can increase production, increase the quality of our cashew output in Nigeria, thereby making it acceptable internationally and earn us more financial foreign earnings.
Still in Nigeria, the Kaduna state government has sealed several business outlets, including banks and hotels, for non-payment of taxes and other levies that run into billions of naira. The State Revenue Service, which is carrying out the exercise, says the sealing of the business premises is in accordance with the Kaduna State Tax Codification and Consolidation Law of 2020.
People have refused to pay. We have so many tax defaulters. They have become recalcitrant. So we are left with no any other option than to destroy on their properties according to the laws. The compliance is about 80% because when we destroy on the tax defaulters' property, they are expected to make a payment of the entire sum. So, but because of, the kind of community or society we found ourselves in, we normally consider and accept at least 70% to 80% payment before we unseal the premises that are sealed. But, we do the enforcement in tranches. We'll do this week, another week until we exhaust. So we have a lot of liabilities actually. Our target, to recover all the money that is still in people's hands, and we have about 2-something billion naira to recover.
Well, we know that this administration is very serious on tax and increasing the GDP to tax ratio. So, as I guess more states will domesticate that move by doing what we have seen happening in Kaduna State right there. Well, another thing is the transparency within the system. That's the tax system as part of the tax reform. Of course, this will give more Nigerians the confidence, and willingness, to participate in it. But there's also another pressing issue now. We would normally hear of cabals in the political corridor, but now it seems that term has spread to the gas industry. Gas is becoming really popular now. Marketers say that a cabal is behind the surging price of cooking gas that we're experiencing in the country. Well, I don't know about that, but we have Mr. Oladak Olatubosun. He's the president of Association of Liquefied Petroleum Gas Marketers in the country, to tell us more about this. Good to have you in the studio. Good morning, Mr. Olatubosun.
Good morning.
So, is this true? Do we have a cabal now? Because it's all over a lot of papers reporting that we have a cabal in the gas sector.
In actual sense, anywhere there's money and there's interest, there could be collusion of interest, and the collusion of interest could be termed as cabal. What we have in gas is collusion of interest, everybody defending their own interests. Currently now, you will agree with me that the price of gas has gone up beyond imagination of Nigeria. 1 kg is being sold 1,200 to 1,300, depending on the location you are buying your gas from. About a week ago, this quantity is being sold for 750. And when we are saying 1 kg here, for clarification, 1 kg can only cook a meal for family of 2. And what we are buying before, the price was about 10, about a month or 2 months ago, 10 million, 9 million, suddenly 14 million. Today is about 17 million. And the question is that the price is going up. And what is the reason, and why is it there? Is there any hope? Is there any collusion of interest? So when we are not tagging the interest, people term it as cabal, but it's a matter of everybody defending their own interest. The terminal owner, the off-takers, everybody is defending the interest in their own business. What we are doing as an association is to appeal, to beg to everybody to defend the industry.
So who are these cabals? Who makes up the cabal?
Well, the story I was building up, because when people get to our plants, they agitated. What they buy today is not what they buy tomorrow. And they are passing aggression to the plant owners, believing we are the one cheating them, we are the one increasing the price. And it needs to make it clarified that the change in price or hike in price is never at the instance of plant owners. Plant owners also do not enjoy it. It's what they buy that they are selling. And the price that is going up, the question is what had been the previous efforts? Because the hike in price has not just started now. It started about 2 years ago. And we cried loud and clear to the government of the day then. And the government agreed with us that there was a problem and they need to attack it. So government said they will attack it from supply angle. And the step government took then was, number one, they first called the largest producer, NLNG, into a meeting, compare them and persuade them to domesticate all their production into Nigerian market. So all butane produced by NLNG is being sold in this market. They are not exporting it again. They also compelled NLNG to have a change in their price templates, because before now we use multi-beverage price templates. That is subjected to volatility and changes of pricing all over the world. And NLNG agree and develop a local price template, which is not as volatile as what the multi-beverage and other price template is. And both the terminal owners, the major players also agree that this template is better because price is stable from NLNG and is relatively lower. That's supposed to be an advantage. Government also said they want to attack the problem through supply angle. They call a meeting and okay, we have propane in abundance in this country. If butane is the challenge that is not sufficient, can we blend propane with butane? And when they start with the standard organization, they agreed that we could do to a particular ratio. The objective is to increase the quantity. This also was done. Government approved blending. So we are blending today. That has increased the supply. The government also persuaded all molecule producers, other people that are producing gas in this country, except NLNG, to please sell their products into the local markets. And all of them are selling their products in the local market. As of today, Nigeria is making close to 800,000 metric tons per annum locally. What we are importing is never up to what we are producing here. And I stand to be challenged. So if what we are producing is far more than what we are importing, if at all that we are supplementing with importation, because our utilization level has gone down. Before now, we were on 1,250 metric tons. As of today, Nigeria is operating at peak of 900,000. Out of 900,000, you have about between 750 and 800 being produced locally. What is then the gap that we import? It is very unfair to governments that have done all this effort and to innocent Nigerians that we now price all the product as if they are being imported into this country. So
who is doing this? You said it's not from the terminal, it's from your own supply. Who is your supply? Let's backtrack and find the source.
Well, this is our supply. My listeners know our supply. We are in the distribution chain. We're close to the end users. We buy from the terminal and depots.
And you said this surge is not from the terminal.
No, I'm not saying it's not from the terminal. It's not from plant owners.
Okay, it's not from plant owners.
It's not from our members.
It's from terminal.
Yeah, we are there.
Because that's where you buy.
That's where we buy.
That is where you experience the change in price. And obviously, you have to pass it on to the consumers.
So the terminal today sells close to 17 million, 16.8 in some places, 16.4 in some places, which we agree. We know that they could do better. To be sincere,
are you saying they are hoarding it?
No. They are not hoarding. In fairness to them, they are entitled to profit in their investments, because these are people that invested heavily into distribution and deepening of gas. Their investment run to billions. And they've considered every businessman has objective to reap profit out of it. But when profit becomes excessive, then some people will call it extortion. So we know, they know how much NLNG is selling off depot. We know the number that this thing be good. Let us be mindful of all overheads and challenges they are having. But still, they could do better. And that is why we are begging them. It is an appeal on behalf of all Nigerians, on behalf of all my members, that let us protect this industry. Because if the price is excessively too high, Nigerians will abandon it and the price will collapse. The first victims are my members. We will be out of business. Nigeria also will feel it. Then government will also be the last victim. Because people that are not clear with the role government has played in the past, they are blaming government. And it has about reputation and image on government of the day. Government of the day have done a lot. We thought have enumerated. Government has done their part. It is we, Nigerians, that we should be fair to other brothers.
But the industry does have regulators that are supposed to check all of this.
My sister, you are right. This shouldn't be my whole responsibility. It shouldn't be the responsibility of my governing council and my association. The government agencies are there. And the government agencies are not doing the right thing at the right time. Then
so it's still back to government. Even though government has done so many things, as you have enumerated, trying to deal with the supply side and all of that, the regulation is still
somebody has to implement government objectives. The agencies of government that are supposed to mediate, because there's nowhere you leave forces of market, forces of demand and supply to determine the price of essential products that the innocent Nigerians and poor will not suffer for it. What they've done is to live aloof and be watching. Then the market of forces and supply, and that is why the word of Kabah now comes in. Because the interest of returns now comes in, it is very easy to come with one common interest when you are beneficial to it. But it's the role of the agencies of government to make sure that they mediate and protect the firstlet and protect Nigerians. It's nowhere in the world that you throw it out, the poor will suffer. And that's what the poor is doing now. Poor are now paying 1,300 per 1 kg. They could not eat in their house again. And we could do better.
Okay, so what would you say would be an ideal price? Because we do know that there's price inflation is in the country. We know there's so many factors. You know, you have knocked off majorly the forex factor,
exactly,
which could have been a base or a reason for the increase, according to your own explanation at this time. What would you now say would be like an appropriate and ideal from your association's perspective?
Good question. Let me take it from angle of foreign exchange, because one of the reasons...
Maybe if you help us break down the elements in the pricing, that would help us. That would help us get to an ideal.
It sounds like that, but I don't, the template, we all have our figures, and I know it's beyond this table. Government is interested, the depot owner, everybody is also interested. So we are still coming to a table. At that particular time, facts and figures will be shown. The agency also have the facts and figures. The government agency and government authority, they also have facts and figures. We can come to a table and look at it and come with a template. Every business has its quarter projections. What are the landing costs? What are the expected overheads? How can we protect Nigeria? And that is the discussion. That is the intervention of government to see whether they are right with that price, or we are being nervous, or we are being unfair to them. And if there's a way we can meet at the middle, we are calling for meeting at the middle. I strongly believe Nigeria could get gas better. Talking about the foreign exchange, I talked to you about the supply. 90% of gas we use in this country is supplied locally. Nobody pay dollar for the purchase. NLNG does not collect dollar for the purchase. No government agency collects dollar for the service. Everything could be in terms of that, but you pay in naira. So we are not totally subjected to fluctuation. This is different from AGO and PMS markets, because officially those items we are not producing in this country. But this particular product, we are producing it in this country, and in large quantity, more than whatever we are saying we are importing. It will be very unfair to say now everything must be priced as if it's being imported. Then why the effort of government? Why approving blending? Why approving waiving of tax and VAT? Why approving domestication of products? So we need to appear and beg. These are our big brothers, the big investor in industry. They have contributed a lot, but we all have a role to protect and defend this industry. Because when the industry collapses, we will be the first victim. It will also spread over to them. Nigerians will abandon our product to us. They will go into the bush, cut trees, they will buy charcoals, and that does not protect us well.
There's even stove now, the hydrogen clean energy gel that people use to cook.
But it's a shame. We are the 9th country that is blessed in this country, in the world. In Nigeria, we are second. And utilization level is ridiculously low. Benin Republic consumes more gas than we do. Morocco leads in Africa, followed by Algeria. Their deposit is not as much as what we have here. We need to invest in exploration and also not to be too greedy. That is the conclusion. We need to be fair, and I'm begging We are not this, we cannot fight, we can't compete, we are too small to them. But appealing on behalf of all my members, on behalf of all Nigerians, we can do better. We appreciate their huge investment, we appreciate their role, but please, let's sustain this industry.
Okay, so you are pleading, but we have, of course, the regulators are supposed to take this up as a responsibility. And I do hope that we can have any of the regulators and the representative of the terminals, you know, to join us and share their own perspective. This is just the marketers. Perhaps they don't have the full information. We would really love to have your perspective, you know, on this issue of cooking gas. Because, of course, we see it surging every day. There was that prediction or projection that it's going to hit, I think, about 30,000 or so.
If you have this space, yeah.
And the festivities are coming, a lot of cooking to be done. And the risk of that, obviously, is people go back to the old ways, which is not clean energy at all. But what do you see as a way out now? Your association is pleading. What can be done apart from the plea that comes from the marketers?
You've just identified the government agency has a role to play. Even the government, we have extended our advocacy to the all ministries. We've written even to the terminal owners. We've written to them. We've written to them. We've written to, we were at the Senate. All what we are doing is for intervention, mediation, so that we can come to that table. If they also have some other challenges, it can be identified. We've done that in the past. My association and a lot of them fought for the removal of VAT. We fought for approval of blending. We fought for the changing in price template. If they also have an issue, even when vessels are being delayed, we were on the front line that vessels should be given priority. And it's happening today. Vessels move to Port Harcourt, it comes to Lagos without any hitch, free flow. Nigerians should benefit from all these benefits. So the government agencies and the people in government should please intervene and sit down. Let us even see. Perhaps there's something we don't know, like you said, that is making this price to be ridiculously high. Then the government will identify it. If they've done what they've done in the past, they could do more. And they also can also do more by lowering the price to sustain the market.
And unfortunately, obviously, coming when the government is looking at, you know, winning more users of auto gas, you know, converting generators. I mean, people will just be like, what's the essence of it? If the price of gas is surging, we're running away from PMS. So this could be a discouraging factor.
Exactly. If this is not need at the board, it's not controlled now, even when our refinery starts working, even when private producers are producing in Nigeria, if we do not control what's happening here, we will never get PMS and other white products at a lower price. But the only thing we can do, and that's why government should not just turn the other side. Government agents should not look at the other side. They are all aware of this. Let us, I'm not calling for regulation of the price because it's a regulated market. There must be a mediation. There must be a check and balance. Somebody must work and contain somebody's excesses. If it is a market where nobody contains your excesses, nobody is tired of making profit. Some people want to profit to even more than double. But some people will pay for it. Some people will suffer for it. So the government agents need to solve this problem now. Otherwise, it gets more complicated even when we are producing PMS and other products in this country. Because these are essential products. And it is market where the bigs are playing.
And it's very important to find a balance, because if they start stifling or regulating prices, then you might also have investors running away from that, which is mostly what happened in our oil and gas industry. Because if people feel that they are not allowed, you know, to put in all the elements that make up their cost price, then they might just think it's not a good enough investment.
Exactly. Something is happening now. Our utilization level is ridiculously low. As a country that has 230 million, we are utilizing about 900,000 metric tons per annum. If a foreign investor wants to come, either into exploration or distribution or storage, the first data we have, what is the utilization level of this country? If we go at this rate, the utilization level will further deepen low, and it will not be attractive for the investors. You want to go to countries that you know they will buy your product, that the market is already made. We have competitors in Africa now. A lot of countries in Africa have discovered oil and gas. Angola, Congo, several countries of Botswana, several countries of Africa. So the Western investors have options. The only way to attack them is to make our market stable and make a promising market. A promising market has to be with utilization level. There's no way we can grow our utilization level at the price we have now, considering purchasing power of Nigerians. Very soon, gas will only be a product sold in the city. Less city where we have thick population, people will not buy it.
Well, we hope it doesn't get to that. But thank you so much, Mr. Lada Palatubosun, President, Association of Liquefied Petroleum Gas Marketers of Nigeria. Thank you for your time.
It's my pleasure for having me. Thank you.
All right, now the West Africa Capital Market Conference, WACMAC 2023 conference had the theme Infrastructural Deficit and Sustainable Financing in an Integrated West Africa Capital Market. A big deal. It was a two-day event, the largest gathering of capital market policymakers, brokers, and other stakeholders, jointly hosted by the West Africa Securities Regulators Association and the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, and then the West African Capital Market Integration Council. All of that will bring you what they discussed, a little bit of it though, in this next report.
The third edition of the West Africa Capital Market Conference, and this time it's being held in Lagos, Nigeria. The two-day event drew capital market regulators and stakeholders across the West African sub-region to deliberate on ways to tackle infrastructure deficit as well as embrace principles of sustainable finance. Vice President Senator Kashim Shettima was represented by the Special Advisor to the President on Economic Affairs, Mr. Tokwe Fashura, says that the infrastructural deficits in the country and the sub-region are better tackled by domestic capital market and not only foreign borrowing.
If this is so for Nigeria, it presupposes that the entire region has similar or perhaps larger infrastructural deficits waiting to be filled. They are better filled from inside, not through foreign borrowing alone. The job of the capital market in Nigeria and of course West Africa is therefore cut out for it. And this extends to West Africa and Africa at large.
Thank you. On his part, the Lagos State Governor, Mr. Babajide Sanwo-Olu, acknowledged the role of the capital market in providing long-term finance.
And so hosting this prestigious conference in Lagos offers us a unique opportunity to showcase our economic mettle, our rich cultural heritage, and our warm, very warm Lagos hospitality. We hope that the event will not only foster greater integration and capital market formation, but also stimulate tourism potentials and attract even more investors to our region.
The Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission and Chairman of the West Africa Securities Regulators Association gives his expectation on the outcome of this year's gathering.
We are confident that this event, themed Infrastructure Deficit and Sustainable Financing in an Integrated West Africa Capital Market, will foster integration, encourage capital formation, promote tourism, and attract investors to our region.
As a flagship program of West Africa Securities Regulators Association, the West Africa Capital Market Conference is a biannual event that seeks to present the West African region and the continent the opportunity to address important issues related to the orderly growth and development of the regional and continental capital markets.
Welcome back. Well, the taste of sweet victory is still on the tongue of many Nigerians after some have called a narrow escape from a hefty penalty of about $11 billion of a failed 2010 deal to develop a gas processing plant in the country. Well, we cannot say for sure that that P&ID case is over because I think they still have a window to appeal the judgment. But there are many lessons to draw from the scenario. That's why we're discussing that with Professor Labisi Akinkugbe. He is Associate Professor joining us virtually from Canada. Prof, good to have you on the show. Good morning.
Morning.
Yeah, so Nigeria has narrowly escaped, at least for now. We don't know what can happen if it could be appealed, but I hear there's a window for appeal. Is that window still open?
Well, the window is still there. Thank you very much. And you know, this particular case itself has not ended because there's a short rule that the the respondent has asked for to allow them to also address the court on the issue of how the damages concerning this particular case should be decided.
So what are some of the lessons from the judgment, at least, that we have now? There are issues of corruption, lack of transparency, bribery, and all of that. What are some of those lessons that Nigeria and the world can learn from this P&ID case?
Thanks a lot, Tini. That's a very good question. And I think the place to start is to say that a lot of scholars, myself inclusive, have written about the dangers of arbitration. You know, it is often heralded as the alternative to the long processes that we have in court. It is effective, and so on and so forth. But investment arbitration has over time been proven, and there are empirical studies that back this, to be very challenging for what you call the host state, like Nigeria, that has the project. And so what you see the P&ID case has demonstrated is really the dangers that could go very wrong when all the facts that relate to the context around which a particular investment project has been awarded are not put before the arbitration. So to be clear, we're not saying arbitration is always bad. We're just saying at times it masks significant challenges. And one area that happens is the quantum of damages that has come up. You know, this is not the first time corruption as the basis for really undoing a particular investment project has happened. There is the World Duty Free case, which involves, you know, the Kenyan government. That's about the most popular one that has happened around 2006. But in terms of quantum, there's also the case involving Pakistan, where they have almost $11 hanging over their neck. So in terms of the lessons that we need to learn from this, you're right. You have pinpointed that oftentimes public officials are found complicit in the process of that led to their award. They sometimes just undermine the process without thinking about the public good. This is what P&ID has shown us, that there are elements that do not care about Nigeria in the government in itself. Number two is that even though the arbitrations may rule in the interest of what's called public moral order, and not allow a particular project that has been found on the basis of corruption to go on, if all the facts that are needed to prove that are not before the arbitration committee, then nothing will happen. And that's precisely what happened in this case. The arbitration went through. The award was given against Nigeria. But the truth was that the facts that were needed to really ground that were not before them. And that's what the commercial court also noted. So that's the second one. Number three is the role of expertise in the drafting of our agreements. Look, Nigeria has very good top law firms. Nigeria has excellent minds as lawyers. It is surprising, on a personal level, extremely worrying, but also painful that a lot of our agreements still get drafted without paying attention to or even involving some of these minds. And I know the government tries. So precisely how this one has failed the test of due process within the government, the test of ensuring that they've gone through all the steps that they need to require the quality of the agreement is really concerning. And so there's room to tighten the ropes and to ensure that there is every level of due diligence that is taken to ensure that the process that leads to the award and signing of contracts are signed. The fourth point I'll make is this. In defending these types of cases, it is also important for trust to be shown. It is a key thing that has come out of this case because a lot of the relationships got fractured along the way. And maybe, one last point that I'll put out there is this. The process that leads to award of contract has been, especially in general investment law, has also been criticized as very neo-colonial today. The whole architecture of the industry, because it really just takes a private party that elevates them above a state. So what you see happen in the P&ID case is that the only party that could have initiated, well, in the investment trading ones, in those kind of disputes would be the private sector, or the private party. And so to go back to the point I started from, investment arbitration in itself is very problematic. And there's a whole process that is being done right now to address its procedural deficits. What we have written about is that it has an unequal power structure, and that there's need to address the substantive deficits of this system. Unfortunately, in the name of investment flows, a lot of our governments still continue to sign the type of contracts and treaties that lead to this kind of arbitration.
Well, that's a whole lot, Prof, that you have raised there. And I just have, things coming out of my mind to say, would you say this deficit in our contract initiation and signing process, would you say it's intentional by some individuals for personal gains? In other words, should we say that the system should be upgraded, but maybe some people are just looking the other way because it's favoring, them?
Well, thank you. I think, we are describing to me what I would call corruption again. And I think whether we like it or not, corruption is a hydra-headed monster. It is a really difficult one to deal with. In my own writing, I have, argued that some of the most difficult forms of corruption to deal with is what is called those created by informal networks, social networks in public spaces. And those really try to operate outside of the ambit of the law. They operate to try to, just avoid the nest of the law when it is cast as wide as possible. Yet the day of accountability comes. And so in terms of motivation, you do find that there are people in there clearly that places their own personal gains over that of the nation. And a number of the witnesses we have seen that have now or under prosecution by the EFCC really did Nigeria bad. In fact, the judge noted at the end that this is the pain that these peoples would have put, the millions of Nigerians through, that they would have elevated their own personal gains for very small amounts of money over that of the nation. So you are right. There are personal motivations that have led to this type of unfortunate situation that we found ourselves. But we need to also clean the system. We need to drain the system of those kind of elements. We need to think of how we ensure that when it comes to due process, in the award of significant contracts that have huge implication for the wellness of the country, we ensure that every hands are on deck to check the process that has led to the award of that particular type of contract.
Well, I guess the unfortunate thing about that is you still need individuals to handle those processes. Even if we want to upgrade the system, make everything technical or digitalize it, you still need individuals who would run those things or lead those things. And if those individuals still put their personal gains ahead of the nation, then we'll end up in the same hole.
Oh yeah, that is the truth. And I do want to be, fair to Nigeria here. This is not a problem that is unique to Nigeria. I teach in Canada. There's a province called Ontario. That province right now is embroiled in a huge investigation by the federal department on account of the fact that there's an allegation that the premier has converted a Greenland area, right, for construction without due process. So there's no end to this. This really is a litmus test for us to think about how we will hold accountable our people. No technology won't do the work for us alone to deal with this. Our courts have to do their work. In some sense, it is concerning that those who are being investigated and prosecuted in the Nigerian courts are still there. As far as I know, those cases have not been completed. So, it's an overhaul of the system. We all have to look at ourselves. Again, I'm careful not to just say all the courts are not functioning. That's not the argument here. The point is, in certain cases, we do have to send strong signals out. This is a perfect example where everybody involved who's done anything that to undermine Nigeria's integrity, Nigeria's financial well-being, Nigeria's economic position should be made to face the full wrath of the law. This will lay down the real marker on which we can build seriously. We have the institutions. The FCC did significant level of investigation. We have the ICPC. They can do their work as well. So this is not a call for more institutional establishment. It is a call to actually implement the letter of the laws we have. And in that process, both the executive and the judiciary have their work in this context to do.
Yeah, they do have their work. We hope they do their work. Thank you so much for your time this morning, Professor Olabisi Akingube, Associate Professor at Dalhousie University over there in Canada. And thank you for sharing that happening in Ottawa with us, because sometimes we do think it's just the blacks that are involved in corruption.
Thank you very much. It's not just us. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thank you, you too, Prof. All right, now let's head to the market and see what happened yesterday. Perhaps that would tell us what to expect at the close of trade today. Unfortunately, it wasn't that good for the NGX in Nigeria at the close of Thursday. Straight, the all-share index dropped. It was down 0.18%. There you have it. And the equities cap also in the red, lost about 66 billion naira, 66.59 billion naira. And the all-share right there plus 30.89 at the close of the trade. And well, from the banking sector, we can see those who put their markets right there. I think Stanbic, for a second day running, also lost yesterday. It was down more than 3% yesterday, and so was Zenith and some of those big guys, GT Co and all of that. And then consumer goods was so slightly up, just gained just a little bit there, almost getting off the hook there. And also industrial goods and oil and gas. We know oil and gas has been running unchanged, back to back for some time. Insurance was in the red also. We see the activity charts that volume declined about 18%. Value was green, 5.11%. And deals was just about 5,000 at the close of trade. Market breadth yesterday was negative. We had a slight positive the day before, and then now it's dropped. There were 29 tickers that dropped, 12 that gained at the close of trade yesterday. Let's go to the other market, the fixed income market there. The overnight lending rate expanded by 805 basis points. There's about 12. There you have the activities right there from the federal government bonds, 12.3%. The NTB, that's a treasury. Okay, now let's look at the details of the federal government. 30 deals yesterday, and seems like the much longer securities were more popular. 21 June 2053, 2028, and 2026. Those there were most favored by investors yesterday, and the value at the end of the day was 21.4 billion naira. Let's see the treasury bills right there. Yeah, so the treasury bills for yesterday, 71 deals, quite active, I say. Remember, there was an auction on Wednesday, and so maybe we're seeing part of that inflow there. But we see the securities that were most popular yesterday were those for next year, October, March, and September. 71 of them worth 70.13 billion naira at the close of trade right there. Can we see the central bank bonds for yesterday? I think it is right there. Okay, doesn't look like we have that today. But there was also an issue that came up yesterday. The Central Bank of Nigeria liberalize further the market and remove the maximum amount that banks can deposit into the CBN. It used to be about 2 billion before yesterday. Let's see if we can get more details on that with Bosun Obembe. He's a fixed income dealer with Access Bank PLC. Hi, Bosun. Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Good to have you. So the limit is off, or has it just shifted? Tell us about this move by the CBN and what they hope to achieve.
Okay, thank you. So, like you mentioned, so it's in further effort of CBN to liberalize the market, so and shifting from the unorthodox to the orthodox method. So, what CBN has done is to allow banks to place their idle fund with it. Before now, like you mentioned, in 2014, the maximum bank could place with CBN was reduced to 7.5. In 2019, it was reduced to 2 billion, but like yesterday, the cap has been removed. So this will make monetary policy rate, which is the benchmark rate, MPR, to make it more effective tool at controlling the inflation. Before now, you see inflation is at 18.75. But you see Treasury bill rate trading at below these levels, which is quite unusual. So, but with this limit being removed, so what bank can do once they have idle fund, they can place it with CBN at MPR minus 200 basis points. So effectively, the minimum rate at which maybe investors or banks will be willing to place money will be 15.75. So it's a good one for the market, and we expect it to actually spur more interest from the foreign investors.
To spur more interest, but how do we expect it to move the markets? We saw that, I think that was there you have the Treasury bill yesterday. Quite a number of deals, although I believe this is for the secondary markets.
So it is the news that actually spurred the interest that we saw in the market yesterday. So even at the NTB auction on Wednesday, we saw the impact of this news where the stop rate on the 1 year closed at 13%. But at the next auction, we expect that the stop rate will be trading around 15-16%. The same thing happened on the bond desk. So for yesterday, what we saw was on the fixed income market, the yield increased. On the 2053 bond that closed at auction at 16.6 is currently trading at 17%, which is an all-time high. The 1 year paper, which were trading, NTB were trading at 9-10% before, they are currently trading at 12.9. But by next week, we expect that all these, or the next auction, which will be in the next month, we'll see my market trading at 16% level. Even on the money market space, we saw, despite the inflows that we have in the system, which was above 400 billion, we saw the interbank rate increase significantly by over 800 basis points, because there is no incentive for placing money with other bank when you can actually place it with CBN at 15.75. So with this, CBN will be able to actually control inflation, be able to actually use MPR will be an effective tool. Before now, MPR has not been very effective at controlling inflation, but with now, anytime there's an increase in MPR, you will see all other markets will adjust to it. So we are now following the orthodox monetary policy. So it's a good one for the market. It shows that market is now being determined by market forces.
Okay, interesting. And of course, in the coming days, I'm sure we will see more impacts of it on the market and investor sentiment. Well, thank you so much, Bosun Obembe, Chief Dealer with Access Bank, for your time this morning.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we'll move to the next market, and that's the crypto market. Very interesting things happening right there. But before we get our guests to talk about that, we see that it's a lot of red today, but don't be deceived. Bitcoin is still looking good at 34,000 there, dropped at 1.16%. But I mean, remember, just look at this, and then we'll know that we're still looking at least safe grounds for now. And Ethereum has also dropped. Of course, when a Bitcoin drops, we expect others to move. Let's see the market sentiment. So you see, the market is still greedy. It may be a good time to make some profit, take some profits, but remember to leave some investment there, because, you know, it will go down and then it will come back up again. It's always a cycle. Let's see the prices of the coins right there. We saw that of Bitcoin We saw that with Ethereum, and then we see BNB gained, and then Cardano also dropped. XRP also lost more than 1% to close at 0.54%. Now, an interesting story caught my eye just before we came on air, and I hope Sheo is aware of it. Hi, Sheo Denia. Good morning. Thank you for your time.
Hi, good morning.
Yeah, so I hear Bitcoin price is different values in different countries now, but surging even higher in emerging economies. And I see that now the Naira gained somewhat at the P2P, even though it's not, officially recognized. So the Naira traded, I think, about 1,100 or so just before I came on air. How can we explain this?
So pretty much, I think on the peer-to-peer market, following it works just like, it's an open market, willing buyer, willing seller. And I think some of the things that have affected prices, which may then also spiral into the FX market, is the fact that we can now see that there will be government stability. Before the Supreme Court judgment, everybody would probably have been speculating that, okay, could there be a change in government? How would that affect people's investments? But after the Supreme Court judgment was issued yesterday and, in favor of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, everyone can now sit back. Most of the investors can plan. So I believe that most of the speculators are then saying that, well, there's no point holding on to FX or to, hedging their Naira. And so everybody decided to sell off. And that was why we could see, that huge dip. I think it was over 100 or 200 Naira loss. A gain for the Naira, let me put it that way.
A gain for Nigeria.
Yes, a gain for Nigeria.
Yeah, but that doesn't explain why in Argentina, in Turkey, price of Bitcoin is surging, at different levels.
So the reason for this, what those countries have in common is high rate of inflation. Of course, there's also, unfortunately, people do not trust their governments and the financial institutions within these countries. And because of the high rate of inflation, the value of people's money has reduced. So people are looking for ways to hedge their funds, where to invest, and do things outside of the traditional financial institutions. And of course, you heard by the news in the ETF, boom, that Bitcoin has been appreciating in price, Ethereum appreciating in price. So people are definitely looking for, alternative sources, alternative investments, so they can put in their money and make higher returns, in order to be able to cater for their day-to-day needs. So, and Bitcoin is sort of readily available in those countries, in the black markets. So it's same thing, demand and supply. So a lot of people are going to buying Bitcoin in those countries in order to be able to safeguard their money against inflation.
So how do you see this weekend for Nigeria now that the Naira is gaining on the P2P platform?
The weekend for Nigeria is going to be very interesting, and of course I'll reference with what the former acting governor of CBN said, Mr. Ashonubi, where he said speculators will be shocked, so people who have been speculating and shorting the Naira, might just have, a very huge shock. So best thing is will be, businesses who actually need the FX, who actually need, crypto, USDT, whatever it is, should be the ones who are trading, not the entire nation trying to hedge against the Naira. So Naira will gain, the Minister for Finance has, put out some news about things that are going to happen in very short term. So I believe that everybody should trust the government. So this weekend, I think, speculators will be shocked.
All right.
In the nutshell.
All right. Well, if speculators are shocked, it's good for the country, good for Naira.
Very good for Nigeria.
So we look forward to it, Sheo. Thank you so much. Chief Executive Officer of Trade Fada. All right, so if you're a speculator, maybe you should get ready to be shocked this weekend. According to Sheo, Naira should gain, good for the nation, right? Well, we hope it should come that way. But that's it on Business Morning for today, Friday, 5 days. I believe it was worth your time. We'll start all over again next week. But I'll see you at 1:30. I'll give you an update from the world of business. Whatever you might have missed or whatever has come up, I'll bring it to you at 1:30. Join me then. I'm Ini John Mekwa.